Hello and good evening everyone, and welcome to our first of a series of webcasts we're doing live here with special guests in the studio. And tonight I'm very happy to introduce you to, all the way from the UK, Mr. John Rogers.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, mate.
All right. Have you been to Gothenburg before?
Yes, but I don't really remember it. It was one of those tour bus, and then straight out. So technically I've been to Gothenburg, but I've not had the pleasure of having any time in the city before. So
lovely. Maybe you can make up for that this time.
I'm going to get some lunch tomorrow and check it out, I think, hopefully.
Sounds good, great. So obviously you're from the UK, from Liverpool, right?
I'm actually from the county, but not the city. So I'm from the Wirral, which is a peninsula between Liverpool and Wales, and I have to explain that to everybody who lives south of Birmingham or is not from the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, my geography skills of the UK are a bit limited, but I have to visit the chart and have a look.
I'll point it out to you at length. It'd be that exciting.
So you were in Sweden with a band, or?
Yeah, many years ago. I think it might have actually been the first proper tour I ever did. I was a projector and video technician for a Swiss black metal band that were in like the Spinal Tap phase of their career.
All right, cool.
But it was a very it was eye-opening and really good fun.
So this was the first time you went on tour then?
Yeah.
But you had done other lighting jobs, obviously.
Yeah, like little bits in. So that goodness, that was a long time ago. So I wasn't even really. I was still very much learning, and it was just sort of at the phase where I've been sort of pushed in front of knackered old desks in ropey old venues in the north of England, and was just sort of flashing and trashing and finding it really enjoyable. So
what were you operating back then?
I think probably an Avo Pearl somewhere. I think a Pearl 2000 and something, or an old Pearl. And then before that, the first desk I actually got on was this like 24 channel dip switched pulsar thing with a load of par cans, and then a big separate control button for strobe, and really small, really ropey music venue, but entirely charming.
Right, cool. So how did you get into lighting to begin with?
Like lots of people, by accident. I ask lots of people this question as well, and I think the answer is usually by accident. I just a friend of mine who is an LD out on tour in America at the moment. Hi Strobe, how you doing? Pushed me in front of a lighting desk and went, "I want to have a cigarette break. You're doing the support bands.
Right.
This is a little.
Here you go, mate.
This is this is a little bit in the background. Here's some front light. Don't fade those down. You'll black the stage out. Good luck." And she sort of sat for 3 songs and then was like, "Yeah, I can go and have a cigarette now," and let me get on with it. Yeah. And I kind of got hooked a little bit from there on out.
I wonder, it would be interesting to hear if many people get pushed into this in the similar sort of way, because it takes some confidence before.
I think there's always at those points in your career, there's these sorts of milestones where you're doing a gig where you're thinking, "I've not really done anything like this before." And sometimes it comes together, sometimes it doesn't, but hopefully you learn enough from it that it actually, still keeps you, still drives you on afterwards, and you don't kind of, you're not diminished in your passion for it in any way. I've been lucky in that sense, even when I've not really done anything like this before, right? There's a lot to learn before we try and do this again, that it's not been a terminal failure. It's been a learning experience, which is good.
Well, it makes it more fun as long as you're learning and doing new things and trying new things.
Yeah, as long as I'm learning, I'm happy, definitely. And there's still lots to, there's obviously still lots to learn for me and anyone with my level, my amount of experience and amount of gigs. There's still loads. People still making new lights, so.
Yeah. Well, tell me about it. But you've done, so I read up a little bit about you before the webcast, obviously. One thing that caught my eye was your background. You worked a bit with Codemasters. With a few game titles.
Yeah, I did. I used to be a video games tester. It was a long time ago. I took a temporary job for a couple of months at Sony over Christmas and New Year's, because I thought that'll do in between jobs, and then I just sort of fell into video game testing for a little while.
I noticed, I particularly picked up on, it said Colin McRae, Dirt 2,
Yep.
I don't know if any of our viewers are gamers, but
was that a big part of your?
Well, I haven't had the chance to play that much, but those are a few that I've actually clocked a few hours. So that was fun to see.
That was awesome. Yeah, no. The thing about Codemasters is they made fantastic games like Dirt 2, and they still do. You know, they make fantastic games like Dirt 2 and Grid and that sort of stuff. And then they'll also like make absolutely anything at the same time. So they'll do like really throwaway titles for on the DS that no one will ever play, and then like really flagship stuff. So you really get a mixed bag with them. But they have made some great games over the years, going back to the Spectrum, going back to Dizzy.
And do you still enjoy gaming, or did this ruin the gaming experience in any way?
I do, and I do still enjoy gaming, but I definitely play games in a different way to how I used to before I tested games. I don't, you know how on certain games you can go and find all the hidden packages, like there's 200 things throughout the map, and if you find them all, you get, that is too much like testing, that's too much like going through a list and ticking everything off. So I kind of like, I finish the story on games these days, but I don't, complete games obsessively like I might have done when I was younger.
Is there anything from this experience that you've taken with you to the lighting world? Has it had any effect, or is it just?
I mean, to be honest, the biggest impact that software testing had on me was I took that into like my later career and my first proper job in the industry. Might be skipping ahead your agenda a bit. I used to work for Avolites in at the start a tech support role, and then sort of moved into bringing my testing experience from Sony and Codes into working within the software department in Avo. So yeah, and that's kind of how I pitched myself to Avo when I just walked up to them at Plaza, and amongst other software companies was like, hi, I know a bit about lights and I can do software testing. Can we merge those two things? And it didn't even occur to me. I was just going to Plaza to check stuff out. And then my girlfriend was like, you can do both of these things and they've got to be useful at the same time to somebody. And I was like, oh, I never thought of that, because you're the smart one in this relationship.
Well, software does take quite a bit of testing, as we're pretty well aware of. Yeah. So how long did you work with Avolites?
About 3.5 years. In fact, it's coming up to 4 years, I think, next month, since I've gone freelance from Avo. But I worked there for about just about 3.5 years, I think.
So I know that I don't know if this happened before or after you left Avo, but you have this company called Capturing Imagination.
That's right. Yeah, that was after Avolites, in that I'd become proficient at Capture and was using it and enjoying it, and my business partner Dave, my business partner was like, we should formalize this, start a company maybe, and see what we can do, see what projects we can get involved with, what mischief we can get up to with Capture together as a sort of capture-driven business, and get on more sort of different and esoteric projects than you would from just doing gigs at the same venues that you usually do. And I thought, it'd be great if we can charge people for 3D drawing. I might be able to, pay for the full license and stuff. So that would be,
we like that.
So that was, it just started out as a way to sort of make it diverse, what the work we were doing, and get different kinds of projects, and a change is as good as a rest. So I mean, Dave came up with the name as well, which is brilliant, because I would have never called it anything as nice and poetic as that.
Right. So what's been your favorite project then so far?
There's ones that are more satisfying and less technically challenging, and then there's ones that are like that are absolutely crackers, that you're sort of you're wondering how that actually happened. The one that you might bring up later is definitely on there. I'm just trying to think, actually. There's been quite a lot. I did some work for Rez and Mark Calvert and Dave Green, who just won a Night of Illumination award. They for Epic Prid's Epic 5, and I think I did advancing and some sort of rendering for ideas and pitches to production for, I think, Epic 2. Like
visualizing design ideas.
Exactly. Visualizing the design idea, giving them different renders and different snapshots and videos of what certain looks would look like, and actually advancing plots and projector placement and stuff for them. So, and it was really exciting to be like, I've done some drawing for Eric Prydz. That was pretty cool. So something so first I think I did a one-off at Cream Fields, which was kind of in a big marquee with a round sort of vibe to it. It was more thrust than round, but it was quite a unique setup. And then from that we went and did the advancing for the big world tour we did after that, and that was quite exciting, and it was very satisfying to be involved in, because when you see those photos after you've pitched a look, it's nice to see it come to fruition.
Yeah. And there was this other project that I know we have some pictures from as well, the Roundabout Theatre.
The Paints
Plough. Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah, we have some pictures here. So this is a rather intimate space, right?
Yeah, the photo makes it look a bit bigger than it is. It's actually, it's quite tight. It's a close quarters in the round, multifunctional theatre space. It's like a kind of a geodesic dome. I think it's currently in Margate, actually. It travels around and brings theatre to places where there isn't traditionally theatre. So, it takes theatre to places where there isn't a lot of good theatre, which is really good. The lights that are in it were like custom made, and they're set in these housings. They never move, and they're focused so that there's coverage from somewhere within that rig.
It's easy to look at the picture and not see the complexity, but each and every one of these small dots is actually individually
it's an LED
controllable,
light.
right?
Yeah, so there's two types in the ceiling. There's a white one that does the full spectrum of white, and then there's the ones that you'll see that are green in the photo and the render, they're RGBW. I think they're split sort of 50-50. I think there's more white ones than RGBW ones, but they're maybe like 60-40 in favor of the white. And getting them all in the right place within the existing CAD that had been sent from the architects and the fabricators, was the rotational cloning and stuff came in really handy, and it was quite complicated.
And there's a look up here with some colors in it, but it was used for pre-programming, right? To some extent.
Yeah, it still goes out with the theatre and is given to obviously different designers on different productions, are given the theatre in presentation file format, so they can just plug into it and get something together, get their ideas of their scenes and stuff before they get to the actual space. Because with it being it's not a permanent installation, it gets dismantled and then put together, and I think it can be put together in under a day, so it moves around. It's not something you can just book out for a week of rehearsals. So to have that, it has to be like that.
Yeah. But you've all right. Moving on. So one of the or the main theme for today anyway, and one of the reasons we're here is actually it's connected to the bridge that we're standing in front of here. So this is an old railroad bridge, right?
Yeah, Brunel built it in the 1800s. I've become a bridge expert, or an aficionado maybe of bridges.
Yeah. So we're in Scotland here, right? We're in the Firth of Forth.
The Firth of Forth, yes.
Forth, right. Yeah, thank you. And there's been a new bridge built. So let's bring in. We have a slideshow that we're going to be rolling with pictures of the new bridge and your eminent lighting design.
Well, yeah.
So how were you brought into this project?
So Calder Sybil from Blacklight gave me a call because they were providing the technical services to a company called JMP Productions, which is run by John Pugh. And Calder needed a programmer and an operator for what he said was, he's like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And
aren't they all?
You're laying this on a bit thick, mate. And then he sort of elaborated, and he was like, no, this is the opening of the new bridge, which I'd seen in the construction stages when I'd been up to Scotland last year when it was sort of half built, and realised that it is a bit of a once in a lifetime sort of gig. But
so this is connecting, essentially, if I get it right, Edinburgh with the north side of the Firth, which is a lot of water, essentially, obviously, under the bridge here.
So it's like 2.4 kilometers in length in total, and it's going from Edinburgh to Fife, essentially, which is there's a parallel road bridge next to it that is a bit old and isn't up to the volume of traffic anymore. So they built another bridge next to it. So there's been 3 bridges built across that expanse of water in 3 centuries, and it's already got World Heritage status, which is which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So this needed a grand opening, of course, and
as these things tend to do. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and capture was used for in this project as well.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, so I travel. We all travel with our laptops, and my capture's on my laptop. It's basically part of my toolkit at this point. So I had it with me. There was already a WIG file of the DWG that the architects had given with fixture placement in it, fixture placement and
patch.
Possibly, yeah, there was a patch in there, and we got there. It was a day of sort of pre-programming with that, setting the desk up, realizing that one of the fixtures was in the wrong place, and maybe there was some changes to the patch that needed making. That came at the point where the WIG dongle had to be taken away to be used for building another project. You can still visualize in it, but you can't make changes, but the dongle was elsewhere physically. So at that point, I needed to take the DWG and repatch the fixtures and basically make it, use capture to that point, because we needed plots, we needed genset, plots and patch details, because
So because obviously you don't want to show the public while you're pre-programming here. So what amount of time were you able to actually test anything on site, visible?
We had like once we set it all out, we had about an hour to quickly flash it. Then the next night we had an hour of programming, which was spent with me on the adjacent road bridge with a wireless link across like a kilometer to the other bridge to get the position in, to get the wash correct.
Yeah. So there's 3 bridges sort of in parallel, and one of them being the really old one we saw earlier on.
So it goes from east to west. You've got the rail bridge, which is the old bridge, the road bridge, which was the one that was built in the 50s, and then the new one. So I was stood on the road bridge with a van and a generator and a mic and a wireless network link, shooting that across to the other bridge, and then getting a position focus in based on that. And we struggled with these wireless things, despite them being really high end and doing like 200 kilometers of range or whatever. They were super powerful, but we really struggled to get a signal out of them that was very strong. And so we logged into the software that gives an accurate GPS reading of your height and absolutely everything. We drilled down, had a look at it, and like the bridges were constantly in motion because they're bridges, and you think you're stood on a big solid
looks solid on the picture there, doesn't it?
That's the idea, is that you're standing on it like, yeah, this is perfectly solid, but the deviation was crazy, and so we really had to dial it in to get any data across there at all. And then of course you're sending something like ArtNet, which isn't it's quite verbose, quite a lot of data to send, but it did come through. It did work out in the end. There was a 10-minute moment where we're logging into stuff and we're radioing and trying to get it stable, where you're like, oh, if this doesn't work, this is going to be real bad. But it came through in the end, which was great.
We have a time-lapse recording of the part of the design anyway, if we could roll that. So this is time-lapse, so this is obviously a lot faster than the live show. But it's good because it means we
cram every single look you've got into 15 seconds.
Yeah. So were you asked to do specific looks, or?
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 sort of phases to it. There was the actual bit with the countdown where the bridge was opened by First Minister Sturgeon, where they wanted a specific sequence that took 15 seconds and was on rails. Like, it starts like this, can it end like that, and do what you like in the middle, which was nice. John Pugh gave me a lot of sort of creative freedom to go, these are the requirements, around that do what you like. And then generally like static looks for camera and for there was a helicopter flyby the following day with who flew around and took photos and videos, but I couldn't speak to him, which was really I was like, well, he's gone around in a circle, let's give him something else. But yeah, so there's solid looks, and then like playing with effects like zoom and position flick ups and stuff to sort of animate the bridge, like you can see in the time lapse. It looks, when you've got just under 80 fixtures, and I think it was like something silly like 68 or 66 BMFL beam washers and 12 clay packing mythos. It's a lot of fixtures, but they're all in a straight line essentially.
Yeah.
So you have.
So you're lighting, obviously, the cables and the
towers.
The towers, yeah.
And so yeah, I think there's one thing I did where you could flick up to try and animate, you know, play with the actual sort of size of the bridge, because there's hills overlooking the bridge. You can sort of there's vantage points from miles around where you can look down and see the road as well, and it's got this cowling, this windproof cowling that's plastic and like a thick plastic that's clear, and it takes color quite nicely. But all of that, you know, it's quite tricky when you're actually on the bridge and you're in it. You don't really see it very well without being.
Well, I can imagine the perspective is very different if you're on or near the bridge.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. What did you say? 2-point-something kilometer.
2.4, I think. I heard. I walked a lot. So yeah, it's. We were operating. Obviously, we didn't trust the wireless link to operate the show. We did that from the van that was on site, and then we had like I think 1.8 kilometers of fiber optic cable on the bridge and 4 different data nodes to go out and then do it like this. It was all devised really, like the sort of the topology of the infrastructure was devised by the guys at Blacklight, and really sort of given the ball and said, right, this is what we need to make happen. These are the requirements. How are we going to make this happen? So they did a great job with that. And then gave me the buttons to push, which is the fun part. So.
Yeah. Before I forget it, I want to give shout outs to Mo Thompson, who has filmed this footage and allowed us to use it.
Yeah, very grateful. That's absolutely lovely.
Yeah, and he's got more, or he or she, I don't know, sorry, got more lovely footage on the website, mothompson.com as well. So thank you very much for that. So what parts of the production did you use Capture for here? Well, obviously the pre-programming. Did you do any plotting work as well?
So we pre-programmed with it, checked a couple of effects in principle, but knew that with the size of the structure and needing to get a focus in from the other bridge, a lot of the more nuanced bits might have to be done on site. But then we needed plots with, you know, it's 8 universes, but you know what data sets and what node sets were they connected to, what generator sets were they using. So we had, you know, unit numbers, patch information, and it was quite nice actually, because we generated a report from Capture. I handed that to Neil, the systems technician on this job, who fed that through Excel, did, you know, phase balancing and figured out all the loads and stuff. Fed that back into Capture via CSV.
Data import export.
Yep, and then we had a full plot which had all of that information on it and was printed out and stuck in the back of the van, and you know, helped the local crew out loads, because we went out with placards with the unit number and the gen set, like literally just, you know, laminated A4 paper staple to a bit of wood, and then placed that with a, you know, a measuring wheel where we wanted the fixtures, and that corresponding to the plot meant that everybody was singing from the same hymn sheet. So yeah, once it became apparent we needed to make changes, and there wasn't going to be a way to use a wig dongle, they just converted it to Capture and ran with it from there. So as well as previs and stuff like that, we had full plots and everything else, which was really, really nice. So
we have, I just want to show the project file briefly as well.
Just to prove it exists.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can switch to the last one.
Actually happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the scale here is, I mean, the wires, they are barely large enough to even turn into pixels here.
Yeah, and then in real life, they're like, you know, a car's width and diameter, you know, so the scale that you're dealing with in terms of like, you know, compared to the size of an individual unit is pretty full on.
Yeah.
But generally, yeah, like it got us there with a lot of the looks.
Yeah. So there's a set of snapshots here that you've recorded. I'm not going to go through them because that would simply take a lot of time.
Oh, there's a time lapse that can save you a lot of time if you want to see all the looks.
Yeah. So what was sorry?
Sorry, yeah, there was one snapshot that was nice. It's basically the start of the time lapse is this sped up. It's just the 15 seconds that we needed to to have ready for the newsreels and for the countdown. So there's an idea of having camera flashes and then different looks finishing on the Saltire and stuff that proved like, well, we were obviously checking it out on social media and seeing what people were saying, because the car bridge opposite was backed up with traffic, which might have been, to do with making a really pretty light show on a brand new bridge. But there were lots of people saying like that look that's up there is the the Saltire look of the flag of Scotland, and people were really into that. But yeah, it was a weird old gig, and it was really a genuine honour to be a part of. And it's one of those ones where I could ring my nan, who doesn't know anything about lighting, and say, turn on the news, just like, not like look at my phone. It was turn on the BBC. Yeah, I did those buttons and I those colours and stuff. Yeah, that's me. And she got all excited about that, and I was like, yeah, I told you it was a real job.
Yeah, I envy you.
Still working on the parents, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming here tonight.
That's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and showing us all this. Thank you. And we're going to be back here in the studio in a few weeks again. I just lost the date at the top of my mind. But we're going to have another guest with us that time, and that's going to be Michael Carlson from Lumen Radio. So be sure not to miss that one. And well, thanks for watching, and see you soon again.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.